Welcome to our monthly Q&As with indie developers. This time I will have a Q&A with Molly and Eric from Arcane Circus, and they will tell all about the ins and outs of starting your own indie studio. Welcome, Molly and Eric.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, my name is Molly Hedy-Carroll. And
my name is Erik van Wees.
And we are Arcane Circus. We're a two-person game development studio based in the Netherlands. Our first commercial project was Crap I'm Broke Out of Pocket, which was a mobile game that came out in 2016. And now we're working on a pan-media IP that's kaiju themed that we'll be announcing soon.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so I kind of guess that I know that how you met each other, but can you please tell all of us?
Well, we met each other at university, and we got on immediately. We noticed that we had like a similar interest for like unusual games, which was cool. We were just drawn to each other's fascination for the unusual.
When I was actually at school, you were the first person to talk to me.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. That's interesting. You always had the dream to start on your own?
Honestly, I didn't. I just thought I like super weird sort of small games, and I come from an artist family, and I always thought I'd be making just kind of weird games, just more for myself and maybe doing something else on the side, but when I met Eric, Eric had this kind of big picture thinking that I wasn't really used to, where going big and trying to make bigger projects and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't think I'd be doing what we're doing now unless an influence like Eric came in. But I am so happy now.
Yeah, I didn't have the idea of, I'm going to start a studio from the get-go. I just a hardcore gamer that wanted to go into game design, know what it is to make games. I want to work for the big studios. One of them I thought was interesting to work for was Insomniac, because they made Spyro, and I was a real big fan of Spyro. As things progressed, I actually noticed what we can do was a lot more interesting. So having done a couple of projects, after a while, it's we got something interesting. We have something good going.
Did you officially start your indie studio during your studies or afterwards, or how did it meld into each other?
Technically it was during, it was October 2013. We had a friend, Robin, in college who was very entrepreneurial, and he kept telling us over just go to the Kamer van Koophandel, which is where you go in the Netherlands to register.
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce.
The Chamber of Commerce, and just register a company. At the time, it was free, so it's free. Just do it. And he pressured us. He peer pressured us into doing it. And then we finally cracked and did it in October 2013, and haven't looked back since. I'm so glad he did that, because it's
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, thank you, Robin.
Nice.
It doesn't change anything. We're still making games, except that you have a number and a piece of paper. But it made it feel okay, we're in this for keeps now. We need to start taking this seriously.
Officially you start, right?
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yes. Is it your indie company is full time, or is it a side hustle? How do we need to see that?
It has changed over time. So first we were just kind of working on little projects. So we did that on the side. It was also that you were still in university. I was already done. So we're 2 years apart in that regard. Over time, we got more and more serious about what we wanted to do. So more and more time went into right now. I'm doing it full time. Molly's still doing freelance on the side to keep things going. But we're dead serious about this.
Yeah, we're not doing Arcane Circus full time, but I'm not sure if side hustle is the right word either, because Arcane Circus is our primary focus, and any work that I do or Eric does outside of that is to support those projects. For example, I do freelance 2D art for other game studios, and we could have actually done that through Arcane Circus and been an outsourcing company.
Yeah.
We intentionally chose to not do that because we see Arcane Circus kind of like a boutique game developer, and we were worried that if we also associate the freelance that I do with the company, it would kind of dilute the brand. It's something that's maybe interesting for a lot of people who, maybe who are listening, who want to make their own games and have a side job. There's really no shame in that. I mean, even big studios will do, freelance or outsource work for other studios in order to fund their projects. I actually know some quite like well-known, I'm not going to name them, but I do know some quite big developers who do ghost development, where like they're making these really like super fancy indie games, and then they'll do some like really lame like film tie-in or movie game or something like that, and they just won't be credited for it in order to get some money to fund their projects. So like, just for a bit of perspective.
Yeah, because well, I think the challenging thing is to keep yourself financial under the roof. Basically, I think that's very challenging. The advice to indeed just like do freelance next to it help, or like having talks on some paid events that can always help.
There's no shame in it, and even the big boys, even your favorite indie game developers probably do it too. So you're not doing anything wrong if that's what you do.
So what do you feel is the biggest challenge when starting as an indie?
The biggest challenge that you will have once you want to go for a bigger project. Everybody wants to have like that first big oomph when you want to release your project into the world. Costs a lot of time, effort, coordination. That on itself, just the production of something like that, and seeing it through to the very end, already quite something. And then also on top of that, like you want to do the full deal, like doing your PR marketing, you know, getting it out there, hustling. That's the biggest challenge. Just to like do it as seriously as the bigger studios are doing, but just on the smaller level. That's the challenge.
Finishing it, just doing that one time. It never gets easy. It's always hard, but that first one, like most people just can't make it. Like,
and this is the interesting thing about that. Like, there are also a lot of people who find it, so difficult that it's like, you know what, this is too much. If you can show I have done a first project, investors will be a lot more interested in you because they see that you are committed. And that makes you investable. It makes you, it shows that you're serious about what you're doing.
And other partners as well, like publishers and stuff like that, because they know that most people don't make it. So once you do that, you're in like a different league at that point.
Yes.
Doesn't even matter if the game's good, just that you've done it is a sign of something and how committed you are.
That you're reliable. I think that's very important in that regard. So how did you manage to market your games because when you're very small, marketing is like really hard. Like, how did you manage that?
You gotta be pleasant, present, productive.
Nice.
It's all about, like everybody likes nice people, so you just got to show your face a lot. It's the familiarity principle that you got to apply. So it's like, first time when people see you, no idea who you are. Second time, haven't I seen you before? Third time, it's like, hey, you're that guy. That's how that works. And it applies to both like being present at events or just like making contact online as has to happen right now.
Yes. And also, of course, you also have to think about it in terms of a bigger picture as well. Like the pleasant, present, and productive isn't just to other people in the industry, but also your players. So like for Crap I'm Broke, because I was at GDC and I just happened to talk to a lovely lady who was giving out flyers and asked what she does. I found out she worked for an amazing PR company called Novi Unlimited. I want to mention them by name just because they're so great. Like, nice. And they were like so helpful for us. They're like super indie friendly for helping us with like distributing press releases and how to approach release and things like that. So having guidance from people who know what they're doing, be it that you have a partner, like a publishing partner who takes that on for you, or hiring a PR company, which is the way we did it, or even just having someone on your team who knows about this stuff is also extremely important to not only get yourself out to the games industry at large, but also beyond that, and the players having access to you as well.
Is he your publisher, or how did you find your publisher?
We've only self-published up to this point. Actually, we work with partners who we either pay to do services for us, or we partner with them and they get
a revenue deal,
some kind of revenue deal out of the project. That's how we've done it so far. But up till now, we are entirely self-published.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. And so how do you keep your community excited?
Social media presence and community management is something that probably we need to work on a little bit, to be honest, and we're making plans in order to improve and put more focus on as working with more partners and our focus can be more on other things. I like to think that people who are fans of Arcane Circus like our games because they don't know what to expect. They know that we're going to do something that's different. They know it's going to be creative, and I like to think that that's what keeps people interested, despite the big gaps between us, like announcing anything or showing anything. That there are people who still are interested in what we're up to because of that intrigue into what we're going to do.
I would also say what makes a big difference if you just like you really got a plan for it instead of that you just kind of make posts as you go along. You know, as it is in your question, how do you keep them excited? It's about, you know, when you're trying to let people know about what it is that you're doing. That's also where you can design an experience for them to get excited about. And you need to plan that, you need to design that, so it's mandatory. So it's best to just like plan a PR marketing campaign for it. You know exactly when, how long it's going to take, you know exactly on what day it's going to do, and then that's most of the work done, and then the execution is just a matter of following the plan.
So if you would redo the process, like what would you do differently if you would start an indie studio now?
I would definitely say energy management. That's really important. Something that I've experienced is people tend to think that your passion is this never-ending well of resources that you can draw from. It is not. Yeah, at some point, like if it's a really deep one, you don't just want to draw from that same source of energy. When you've drawn all your resources out, puts you to a halt, and it's very difficult to build all that energy back up again.
So what are your tips to refresh yourself?
It's okay that you go, you know, I'm really going to work on this, and you know, you might pull a couple of all-nighters, you keep working in the weekends, that kind of thing. You know, hard work is necessary, but you do want to pace yourself with that. So if you just like really work hard for a little bit, then you need to also, as opposed to that, give yourself enough time to recover from those moments and get yourself back into rhythm. You know, all the things that your mommy and daddy have tried to teach you from the beginning.
Yeah, like they weren't making that up, you know, like you have to take breaks. You have to say, this is how much I'm going to work, and then I'm going to stop. Planning holidays, I have found that extremely difficult, planning in holidays.
And why that's difficult is because there's always something going on. There's always something happening. So you always, at some point, you just need to say, when things are not as busy, you're going to say, this is my time to have a little rest.
That's a good point.
Yeah, take that seriously.
The work never stops.
Exactly.
If you just think, oh, I'll just finish this thing and then it'll be quiet.
Yeah.
You're going to be saying that every week.
It's not like school. It's not like school where you see like, okay, then like at the end, then we're done with it. All the tests are over with. All the projects are over, and now we can have a rest. That's not how it works in real life.
Exactly. That is basically also my YouTube channel, to be honest. So yes.
Yeah.
What do you think is the strength of you two working together?
I think something that we've always said is that if we do stuff together, we're 3 times stronger. When we're in unison, at least, that really works. And I think over time, as we've kind of learned to know each other and kind of deal with each other, we figured out what that is. There's a concept called tortoise mind and hare mind. And it's different types of brains that function in different ways. And people listening may feel more connected to one than the other. Tortoise minds are people who think about things very slowly and methodically and are good at, you know, like planning things long term and things like that. While hare minds are people who are able to think very spontaneously, very quickly, able to make a plan and go. You've read the book, like, so like, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are kind of the 2 brains. I am very much a hare mind, and Eric is very much a tortoise mind.
Yes.
And in the moments where we respect each other's kind of way of thinking, it's like a superpower. It's just like magic, like the quick bum what has to be done, and the long-term plan, like, just work, and everything has been thought about and everything is working. So I think it can be a bloody nightmare when it's like out of unison, because you're just like, you're trying to do this and this other person's trying to go over there and you can't like figure it out. But when you take the time to like bring it together and get the most out of each, then I think that's one of the biggest things.
But it's then also about knowing when to shift from one mindset to the other. I'm able to like adapt to hare mind, you're able to adapt to tortoise mind.
Mhm.
And if we weren't able to do that, then we just have constant friction.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that goes for anybody, like anybody listening to this, you know, like it doesn't matter who you are or what things that you think personally are not good about you. You as a person, there is always something about you that only you can do and a strength that only you can bring. And in a team dynamic, the most important thing is that it's a situation where the best thing about everybody is coming out. And that's the focus for any team. Like, doesn't matter who they are. And some team dynamics might be more balanced or imbalanced than others. But I think that's a strength for us that we have focused on trying to do that. And I would recommend to other people to think about things in that way as well.
And it's also that we really have complementary skills. So it's like there's a very sweet spot about this, because we had to do things in the beginning more on our own. Like we still have to do a lot on our own, but it really shows that Molly's interests, like that, you know, you've gathered throughout your entire life. It really sees like these two 50-50 halves will become this really good whole. It's this beautiful 100% in that regard, and we're able to sync. Yeah, we're able to link up with each other really well in that regard.
I think both of us have done like every task you can think of in video games. Like every department, both of us have really kind of like done it at least a little bit for our projects. But in general, I do art and Eric does design and programming. But we're also interested in the other people's field. So like I've done a little bit of programming. I am interested in programming and design. Eric is also interested in art. And that means that both of us are able to bring an educated kind of perspective on the other person's field, which I think is very useful as well.
And that really helps in the communication, because that is crucial. You want to be able to like work. If you want to be able to work together, well, you need to understand each other's language. Instead of just talking all the time, it's just sometimes good to be like, okay, what is this person trying to say? You try to relate to them and ask questions to them. It's like, is this what you're trying to say? That you actually take a genuine interest in the other instead of just responding, just like by asking questions. That works so much better than just immediately responding to what the other person is saying.
Yeah,
because you're really trying to dig to the essence of what somebody's trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, we can learn from each other. I think that's basically what comes out of this. Okay, so do you do everything on the games together, or are you also making use of freelancers or friends that helping out, or how do I need to see that?
It used to be that we did everything ourselves, and as time has progressed, we have been making more use of people, and we find it very important to point out to pay everyone that we want to get involved.
Yeah. We want to make that's very important. Where possible, we have gotten help though. Crap and Broke the Music was by Kimono, underground musician, and Nobi Unlimited was involved with that project. And the current project that we're working on actually has quite a few people working on projects simultaneously. The amount of involvement that we have is unusually high because we're both like interdisciplinary and we're both interested in like all elements, like include like not only, you know, like, oh, I do a bit of programming, but I'm also interested in like PR marketing and like the business aspects of it and things like that. And Eric, of course, as well. So like we try to kind of have like a basic understanding of every aspect, and by every aspect I mean everything. Aspect. QA testing, like even things like localization, like everything. We try to have at least some kind of understanding of how to do it. If we have to do it ourselves, we can, but when resources allow it and it adds a lot of value to the overall product, then we want to bring in people to help with things. That's kind of how we approach it. Like I don't have to do everything myself. Like I know developers who are like that. They feel like they need to do it all themselves because then otherwise it's like a bruising to their ego. And it's like it's going to be so much better if you just let somebody who knows what they're doing do it. You know?
Yeah,
it saves a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's also but
Focus.
also the energy and the mind space. Like every time where you need to like go to like a lot of people might notice if you have to shift from programming to design, completely different mindsets, and it takes time to. It's like a hot bath. So every time you need to go from like a hot bath into the cold. Well, you have to get used to it again, and it takes time for you to steep into that mindset again. And by the time you're used to that mindset and you're flowing, then all of a sudden you need to switch to the other one, and you don't want to constantly be doing that.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, exactly. And it takes a lot of energy from you. Yeah.
So okay, so how do you come with new game ideas?
Stay playful, very much. I really like to stay in touch with my younger self. Remember what it was like when you were just like in primary school, and you're just making up games. You're just being really playful. Everything is possible. You know, sky's the limit. Retain that way of thinking and energy, because there's so many things that haven't been done in video games yet, and I really see the childlike mind is able to tap into all sorts of like new creative ideas, and if you utilize that as an adult, you can like there's so much you can do.
Yeah, listen to that little kid in you. Like
Yeah.
it is really important to stay in touch with things that are important to you. That's like it's like super self-indulgent, but do it. Like it's really
Yes.
important. Like there's creative ideas that the way that you see the world, the things that are important to you and what you want to express through your work, you are the only one who can do that. And it can be really simple things like I really freaking love Pokemon, so I want to make like an RPG monster game. Do it then. Like that's important to you. And that's something that that we really focus on. People who play Arcane Circus games might notice that there's often kind of like
Clear theme in it.
Yeah, kind of like clear theming and kind of maybe like a
message.
A message or like a statement that's coming through, like especially in Crap I'm Broke and things like that. So yeah, we try to make sure that the games that we make are expressing something that is important to us. Unfortunately, we both we get on very well and share a lot of, like perspective and things like that. I mean, we have like debates all the time, but we're coming from the same kind of place. So yes. That's for us something that's very important to express in our games, but not in like a preachy way, in a way that like you don't have to pay attention to those messages if you're not interested in them. They're still a fun game, but for the people who want a bit more depth and a bit more meaning in their games, they can find it in our games. That's something that wasn't intentional, but I have noticed about our games that we keep doing. So I guess that's our like core brand or something. I don't know.
But the way how we do it, we draw from life as well. You know, like there are these two ways of thinking. Like some people really like to go deeper into game mechanics and kind of stay in their creative mind within games, which is really powerful if you marry that with drawing from life, because if you make those two mindsets kiss, you can get some really interesting ideas instead of just going for one or just going for the other.
I think what you're talking about actually is Natura Artis Magistra.
Oh yeah.
Which is nature is the teacher of the arts. Everything, even the most abstract art in the whole world, is coming from some kind of human experience.
It's quite broad, that saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's everything, even the most weird thing you've ever seen, the weirdest piece of art, it comes from some kind of human experience, and you're connecting to it because of your human experience. So all things, no matter how original you think you are have been taught to you by nature in a way. So be curious and be interested in things and express that interest through your work.
Yeah. So nature not meaning like, oh, the flowers and the trees and the outside. It's like, but it's like it basically means like our entire existence and the world we operate in. Yeah. So everything.
Do you have also a focused target group when you make your games, or are you like making games for people like yourself?
It varies all the time, because what it is that we do first is we go by an experience that we want to create, and then seeing what type of audience that is interested in it, then we will research that audience more, and then we can target them way better and implement things. It's this back and forth effect where you can make the game better. You draw inspiration from your target audience almost. So it's like method acting. Method acting is where the actor completely submerges themselves into a role. For instance, help me out with this. The actor who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he put himself in an insane asylum.
It was it was a school for the mentally retarded that his mother worked at, and he spent time there, like with the people and things to kind of like influence his role as Leatherface. And you hear about that sometimes as well, where like an actor is like playing, I don't know, that happens in The Simpsons, where the actor has to play a convenience store clerk, so he gets a job at the Quickie Mart. And like actors really do that. It's like a common modern method.
Exactly. So that same you can do for your target audience, that you really try to that super empathy basically is what that is. That you really come to understand what's your audience into, and then you can embed the same interests and what makes them go, yeah, that's why this is really cool, and you can embed that into your
if you're able to do that,
right?
If you're able to do that, then you can technically you could make a game for any audience. You don't have to focus on one specifically.
So I noticed that you're very active on events. Like, how important do you think those events are?
It's all about the reasons for you as a developer, or whatever role you have in the industry. Like, why is it that you want to go there? What is it that you're trying to gain from it? And I mean, there's a lot that you can gain from it. Like, do you want press? Do you want business contacts? Do you want to just hang out with the people there and share your experiences with one another and learn from each other? Set an objective.
I think your point is that like events on their own aren't necessarily useful. It's
just a place where people are gathering.
It's like it's not the event itself. It's what you do with that event. Like, if you need to be going with some kind of clear thing that you're trying to get out of it, but also be open to the spontaneous things that can happen.
Yes.
And like, it's really important to be present. That's like one of our 3 Ps, is like presence. You never know, like sometimes there'll be like somebody who's like perfect to work with and you never would have thought of them, and you need to keep yourself open to that as well. But you need to have like a primary reason why you're going to an event, otherwise it's just going to be to illustrate
that point about luck. So we are very happy with the business partners that we have right now, but we would not have run into them. So the situation was, we wanted to showcase one of our games an event, and I believe we worked really hard, and we were kind of like at the end of our tether.
I had just come back from a trip from Japan, so we were both kind of tired.
Yeah, we were tired, so we were like, we were considering like, maybe we should skip on that. Oh no, and then we said, let's just go anyway.
It was like, we're this close to just up and not going. It was a race from the Dutch Game Garden lunch, which you'll probably be familiar with. Like, it's a Dutch gathering. It's like pretty frequent and not a huge event.
And it's also a pretty chill event. Like, it's not like super hardcore, like as if you're going to like have meetings with investors, that kind of thing. It's a bit more casual, which is absolutely lovely. So we thought, let's just go for it. And sure enough, our business partners walked by and got really interested in what it is that we were doing.
Yeah.
Started to chat with them, and then that led us to further meetings in the future. And now we are partnered with them. And if we didn't do that,
if we weren't present, but it is again the 3 Ps. It wasn't just that we were there. Like, if we just stood there, they wouldn't have come up to us.
Yeah.
Like. It's also that we were animated and talking about our game and like being nice to people and saying hello and all that kind of thing. But also we were productive. We had a game that was what they were looking for. We had something that we had been working on that attracted their attention. So really, 3 Ps: pleasant, present, productive. That's like Arcane Circus's motto. You take that with you.
Yeah.
That is the key to success. If you keep doing that, like, you won't know where you'll go. You won't be able to predict necessarily, but you will go where you need to be.
And
do those things.
That's part of the excitement So yes, yeah, sometimes it is down to just dumb lucks, like, oh well, he's lucky that he ran into. But I love how Alexander Bruce, who made Antichamber, he mentioned like luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that quote is awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
For everyone who's watching, just watch Alexander Bruce's talks, Antichamber, Overnight Success, 7 years in the making. It's a brilliant talk. That so much information in such a relatively short amount of time. It's like, damn, that guy had a lot of things to say, and it's can recommend.
I did find out later he took that line when luck is when preparation meets opportunity from Meditations.
Right.
Yeah, it's a Roman Stoic philosopher book. It's like a collection of kind of like musings, and it's one of them in there.
Right. Was it Roman or Greek?
Roman. I just double checked. I knew it was meditation, but I couldn't remember if it was Roman or Greek, and I just cheated. It's Roman. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like games and like arts and all those things around us are all combined together, and especially in these times when everything comes together with entertainment. So yeah, for sure we can do.
It's all connected. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think most people are very hesitant to start their own indie studio because it's quite risky. So do you have any advice to like reduce the risk?
Yeah, don't do it alone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like of course you can. Like if you really want to, you just want to fulfill your own vision. It's like, yes, you can do it. Already doing it with two people, it's like, did you mention that earlier about it's like walking a three-legged race? It's like you don't even realize it, but you're only using half your strength. It's like just two people already make such a big difference instead of having to like lug this giant boulder constantly yourself. It's like, yeah, you can do it, but you can you also draw you take energy from each other. You can excite each other and just try to get someone else involved who you like working together.
There's an Indian saying, which is that alone you can move faster, but together you can move further.
Yeah.
And if being an independent developer is something that you really want to pursue and have it be like your lifestyle and able to support yourself with, or even beyond, like you can get a lot done at the beginning on your own, but you will get much further if you have other people to support you, to look at things in a different way. It's that's really important. I think you can do it alone, but you'll get further if you're together.
Wow, I think this is almost a Buddhistic talk.
Yeah.
We have to talk about poo and toilets and things to kind of like bring it down. If we're bringing out like the Roman philosophy and the Indian sayings and things.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so would you have some like really end advice for people who just starting out?
It's like a couple of one of those one-liners. Like, so it takes money to make money. Like you need to have your business virginity broken kind of thing. It's like you just be prepared. How much are you willing to make it happen? It's like you don't necessarily need to spend that much, but at some point, like you might want to be spending, especially if you want to get other people involved, spending like hundreds to thousands, depending on what you need. And
it's like right at the beginning. Yeah.
Put your money where your mouth is. How seriously are you about this? And are you gaining enough from what you're putting into it? Like the money value ratio. Focus a lot on sell the sizzle, not the sausage. So always focus on the experience that you're trying to sell to people. Don't necessarily focus on like, oh, the game has like these mechanics and that kind of thing. Focus on experience is a thing. Well, the 3 Ps is one of those things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if there's one, it would be the pleasant, present, productive. Like that's like that's like that is like that is the key to success. Like if you're gonna lean on one thing being true, like trusting that one thing is true and holding on to that to keep you going. It's the Arcane Circus patented 3 Ps: presence, and productivity.
Also know when you're starting out with like one other person, a small team, a bigger team, I don't know, really value the people you have around you that are willing to commit with you to this, because you'd be surprised like how many people will like not follow up on things, not want to see it to the end, not are willing to spend money on it. Like the entire thing, it's already like if you have those people, like cherish them, you know. And it's really important. It's really important. You only understand that once you start to like see more people, work with more people.
Yeah, finding a partner, I think it's very important that you has really on the
Yeah,
same side of the business and on the product as well.
yeah. Be kind to one another,
And to yourself
to
as
yourself,
well.
but don't lose sight of like being open, honest, and critical of what it is that you're doing. So it's those two worlds again. Learn from these different approaches instead of going by one philosophy or one way of doing it. It's like let those things marry and take the best from everything. So you don't want to upset people. So be kind. Try to be constructive in when you're working together, not just focus on like what needs to be better. This isn't good. It's like don't lose sight of their perspective, because a good critical eye is important. But try to do it. You don't have to be you don't have to be an asshole about it. That's also another thing.
Yeah, how do you guys manage like the playtesting? Because that's quite challenging, right?
That's also where events are really good for. If there's like a public event where there's a lot of gamers, that's a perfect way to do play testing as well.
And meetups and
Yes.
And friends and stuff like that are like, those types of things are good. We focus a lot on qualitative research, because we're very experience driven. We kind of focus on letting a couple of people play and then seeing if the experience that we want to have is coming. It tends to be coming through, and asking a lot of questions about like, what did you think, and like trying to kind of really figure out what the experience was that they had.
And ask open questions, not closed questions. So
yeah, that's kind of how we approach testing. Like we focus very much on the quality of the experience, which means that we also need less people to test as well, just because of the nature of the type of games that we make. You have like a free-to-play game or something, you'd probably want to like hire a service or something like that.
Yeah, you're talking a lot like about your experience of the games. Do most of your games you try to reach the same experience, or like different experiences, or like
different every time, like absolutely different every time. It's like is like a lot of the enjoyment we think that comes out of playing our games is like the experience of playing it and the meaning coming across and things like that. So that's kind of a focus that tends anyway. Like sometimes it's just like user experience, do they know what to do and stuff like that.
And life is too short to keep doing the same thing in the whole time anyways. You want to live, you want to experience things, different things. That's all a thing in human nature that some people do like to food is always a great analogy in when talking about art and experiences. Like some people like to eat their steak with potatoes all the time. Their vegetables. They just want to eat that every single day. And some people like, I'm just gonna have a bit of Asian. I'm gonna have a bit of our local cuisine. I'm gonna do French, etc., etc. So it is an aspect of human, what it is to be human. That's a good thing to remember. Really hold on to in why it is you wanted to go into the games industry and what makes you so excited about games. Like hold on to that and nurture that, because when times get rough, that will get damaged, and that source of being able to tap your energy from it starts to deplete. Keep enjoying games as well, because like there's a lot of developers out there who come out rather jaded. Also keep things fun for yourself, because it's already hard enough to make games. Not everything has to be like torture and suffering. Like
Sisyphus.
Yeah, for instance.
Are you thinking of Sisyphus where he's pushing the rock up the hill and it keeps falling down? Is that what you mean?
Or like, I don't know, Dante's, like, not like game development doesn't have to be like Dante's Inferno where you have to go through all these layers and you have to, it's like don't do that. Keep things fun for yourself, and see your career also as a marathon and not as a sprint. Because a lot of people think that hurts me, is to see a lot of passionate people that are really like, this is gonna be my first bigger game, and they're really gonna go for it, and they get their hopes up for like now is the point where it's all going to launch and it's going to be good. It's like that might not happen. If you're going to burn yourself out the first time you're going at this, it's going to take you a lot of time, and you might even risk not wanting to work in games at all anymore. That's people who we've talked to. If you want to be doing this as a long career, take some time out here and there. Be kind to yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, and do you also think, because you guys are working on like smaller games, right? Is that like positive way to challenge your own scope in a way?
I think the approach scales, like making sure that you're approaching things in a thoughtful way and in a in an energy sustainable way for yourself, and the people who are working on it. I think it gets more complicated when there's more people and when the scope of the project is bigger, but I think the fundamentals remain,
Yes.
Like those core things about like treating people right, planning things out, making sure that you don't like squash go to that person's flame so they never want to work on anything ever again. Yes. Or do that to yourself, that's still important. It doesn't matter. It can be AAA, it can be one person. Those fundamentals are important.
Like, this is that thing that people talk about, like it comes with experience, and that certain things will only click once you've gone through it. So it's okay that some of these things that we're saying doesn't click in the way how we want people to understand it, because that's just it's some of those things are near impossible. I'm not saying it is impossible. Like, it requires an entire talk probably to convey some of those points that we were trying to make. But yeah, sometimes you just have to go through it. That's a good point. To go through it.
That's a good point, actually. Like, if you look back on a process and you see things that you would do differently, that's good. That means you learned something. Now the key is, are you going to apply that in your next project and make new stupid, silly mistakes?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah, but because you're saying you're going to different experiences, like, does it still help you with it then?
There's more to game making than just, like the theme of the game or the gameplay and things like that. I mean, the process of making something and making sure that the idea that, like the vision is coming across, that's universal for all projects.
Yeah.
And those are the things that actually you should be focusing on, rather than do we have the technology to make a sequel or this or that. Like, that is actually the key to like a sustainable career and business, I feel.
There's so many factors. There are so many freaking factors, and there's not like one way of doing it. It's just really about what is it that you want to do. Try to gather a broad scope of what are the different ways of going about it, and learn from it. Stay open, so you can see that when you're going to go in that one single route, that I'm going to take this from that type of tactic into that because I like that. Just like,
it doesn't even have to be games. You can look at the creation of like multidisciplinary art in general.
Yeah.
Like there's universal key fundamental ways of going about things that have been designed before games as well. Like film, or I don't know, like making a theme park or whatever. Just trying to think of like examples and stuff like that. And I notice as well that like people who have been in the industry for a while, I always try to talk to them. Especially the ones that I respect, and the ones who've managed to, I mean, Jesus, like someone who's like older than 30 or 40 or 50 in the games industry is unusual, because people think that their passion is going to get them far, and then they just completely ruin it for themselves and they never want to do it again, and they hurt themselves. So if someone is like over the age, like especially if they're over the age of like 50 or maybe 40 or 30 in the games industry, I really want to hear from them what advice they have. Because I want to be making games when I'm 90. That's what I want.
Whoa,
and I know.
Okay, when you're 90.
I want to have a heart attack and die on a Cintiq while I'm making art for our next game. That's what I want. And I know that that's not going to happen unless I listen to the people who are closer to that than me and what they're doing. And I find that they very often focus on key fundamental aspects of the creative process, the collaborative creative process, instead of use this engine or use this version Photoshop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Wow, that were a lot of insightful topics that we reached in this conversation. Yeah, I always like to ask, like, on the last thing, like, what is your last advice?
3 Ps, don't you think?
It's a good one. I mean, there's plenty more where that came from, but it's like
Let's end on something pithy. I think 3
yeah.
Ps. 3 Ps for sure.
Pleasant, present, productive.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's one
Perfect.
thing you can lean on is truth. It's that.
And I want to add the fourth one. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was really awesome to have you here on my channel.
Thank you.
And everyone, if you have more questions, please jump them in the comments. I'm sure that Molly and Eric are free to answer those questions. And
As you can tell, we like talking about games and we like talking. So
yeah, exactly. So that's wonderful. I think that's also a tip to just go to events, because most people there love making games and they love talking about games and about random nerd stuff. So I will advise, just go there. And for next month, we talk about Rogue Stage Revolution. So I hope to see you all there. And have a nice week or weekend or whatever. See ya. Bye bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye.